Munich, Germany, March 2023. Sophia Richter's life had never been extraordinary. At 34, she worked as an administrative manager at a logistics company in Munich, lived alone in a rented apartment in the Schwabing neighborhood, and her Friday nights usually ended with a glass of wine and a Netflix series. She wasn't unhappy, but she definitely felt like something was missing. That spark, that adventure she saw in her friends' carefully curated lives on Instagram. It was on one of those monotonous nights, while she was absent-mindedly scrolling through her feed, that everything changed. A LinkedIn notification caught her eye, a message from someone named Rashid Al-Mansour. The profile displayed a photo of a man in his 40s with a neatly trimmed beard, piercing dark eyes, and a confident smile. The description read, "International Business Consultant, Dubai, Athens." "Hello, Sophia." The message began in impeccable English. "I noticed that you work in the international logistics sector. I'm expanding my business to Europe and would like to discuss possible opportunities for collaboration. Would you be interested in a conversation?" Sophia hesitated. Random messages on LinkedIn were not uncommon, but something about this approach seemed different. Professional, respectful, without the obvious signs of a romantic scam. She checked his profile carefully. Rashid had over 500 connections, recommendations from people who seemed real, photos at business conferences, posts about international trade. Everything looked legitimate. "Hello, Rashid," she replied after a few minutes of deliberation. "Thank you for reaching out. Yes, I am open to discussing professional opportunities. What specifically would you have in mind?" What followed over the next few weeks was an emotional roller coaster that Sophia could never have predicted. The conversations began strictly professional. Discussions about shipping routes, European customs regulations, potential business partnerships. Rashid was impressively knowledgeable about the industry, asked intelligent questions, and seemed genuinely interested in her expertise. But gradually, almost imperceptibly, the conversations began to shift. Rashid began asking about her personal life, what it was like growing up in Germany, what she did in her free time, what her dreams were beyond work. He shared stories about his own life, raised between Dubai and Athens, the son of a Saudi businessman and a Greek mother, torn between two cultural worlds, always searching for genuine connection amid the superficial world of international business. "You know, Sophia," he wrote one night, "it's rare to find someone who combines professional intelligence with personal depth. Most people in our industry are just numbers and contracts. You're different." Sophia felt something stir in her chest. How long had it been since anyone made her feel this special? Her last relationships had been disappointing, emotionally closed German men, dates through apps that never led to anything meaningful. And here was Rashid, sophisticated, international, seemingly genuine, showing real interest in her. The conversations migrated from LinkedIn to WhatsApp. Then came the video calls. Rashid always appeared in impressive settings: offices overlooking the sea in Dubai, elegant cafes in Athens, international airport lounges. He sent photos of his travels, dinners at fancy restaurants, exclusive business events. And he always included a message about how he wished she were there to share those moments. "My life looks glamorous on the outside," he confessed during a late-night call, "but it's lonely, Sophia, very lonely. Everyone wants something from me, a business connection, access to my family's money, social status. No one really wants to get to know me, until I met you." That was when he first mentioned the wedding. It was May, and they had been talking for almost 2 months. "My cousin is getting married," Rashid said, his face lighting up on the screen. "A traditional wedding, but with a modern twist. It's going to be on the island of Santorini in Greece. 3 days of celebration. You know how Arab families are. We turn everything into an epic event." He paused, then continued with a shy smile. "I know it's crazy, but would you consider coming? As my guest, of course, all expenses paid. It would be an incredible opportunity for you to see this side of my life, meet my family, and—" He hesitated. "And for us to finally meet in person." Sophia's heart raced. Part of her screamed that it was crazy, traveling to another country to meet someone she had met online, accepting such a generous invitation from a virtual stranger. But another part, the part that craved adventure, romance, something more than her predictable life, was intrigued. "I don't know, Rashid," she replied cautiously. "It's very generous, but it's all so fast." "I completely understand," he interrupted gently, "and I don't want you to feel pressured in any way. But think of it this way. It's just a long weekend, a wedding on one of the most beautiful islands in the world, with no expectations or obligations. If we don't feel a connection in person, you'll at least have an amazing paid vacation. If we do—" He smiled. "Well, then we'll see what happens." Sophia talked to her best friend Anna, who immediately expressed concern. "Sophia, you don't really know him. What if it's a trap? What if he's not who he says he is?" "That's why I'm going to research everything," Sophia replied. "And I'll keep you updated every step of the way. If anything seems wrong, I'm out of there immediately." She did her research. She checked every detail of Rashid's profile, found articles about his family, and confirmed the existence of his businesses. She talked to some of his LinkedIn connections, who confirmed that they knew him professionally. Everything seemed to add up. What's more, the wedding was real. She found posts on the family's social media about the event in Santorini. 2 weeks later, Sophia was in her apartment packing her bags. Rashid had sent the details: a direct flight from Munich to Santorini, a reservation at the Katikis Hotel, one of the most luxurious on the island, all paid for and confirmed. He would arrive a day early to take care of family matters and meet her at the airport. "Remember," Anna said as she drove Sophia to the airport, "call me every few hours, share your location, and if anything seems wrong, you get on the next flight back." "I'll be fine," Sophia laughed, trying to hide her own nerves. "Sometimes you have to take a little risk for good things to happen, right?" As the plane took off from Munich that June afternoon, Sophia looked out the window at the city receding below. A mixture of excitement and anxiety bubbled in her stomach. She didn't know she was embarking on a journey that would end not in romance, but in absolute terror, and that in just 48 hours her life would be hanging by a thread in circumstances she could never have imagined. The Greek sun awaited her, but so did a darkness that would turn her dream of adventure into a nightmare from which she might never escape. The plane touched down at Santorini Airport at 6:47 p.m., right on schedule. Sophia felt a rush of excitement as she looked out the window at the island's characteristic white houses glistening in the setting sun. It was even more beautiful than in the photos. As she disembarked, the Mediterranean heat enveloped her like a hug. She grabbed her phone and immediately sent a message to Anna. "I'm here. Everything's fine. The place is so beautiful." Then she sent her real-time location, as they had agreed. In the arrivals area, Sophia searched for Rashid among the crowd of tourists and drivers holding signs. Her heart was racing. She would finally see him in person after months of conversations. She checked her WhatsApp. His last message was from 2 hours ago. "I can't wait to see you, my angel. I'll meet you at the airport." 10 minutes passed, then 15. Sophia began to feel a twinge of concern. She called his number. It went straight to voicemail. Strange. She sent a message. "I'm here. Where are you?" Another 5 minutes. Then her phone rang, but it wasn't Rashid. It was a local Greek number. "Hello," she answered in English. "Fräulein Richter? Sophia?" A male voice with a thick Greek accent answered. "My name is Dimitris. I am Mr. Al-Mansour's driver. He asked me to pick you up. Sophia hesitated. Why didn't Rashid come himself? Last-minute family issue, Dimitris explained. Weddings, you know, always a lot of drama. He asked me to take you to the hotel. He'll meet you there in a few hours. Something didn't seem right, but Sophia reasoned that last-minute problems at weddings were indeed common. Okay, she said slowly. Where are you? Main exit, black Mercedes van. I'm holding a sign with your name on it. Sophia found him easily, a man in his 50s with grey hair, holding a makeshift sign with Richter handwritten on it. The van was indeed a Mercedes, shiny and black. Everything seemed legitimate, though a small voice in her head whispered caution. Welcome to Santorini, Dimitri smiled, grabbing her suitcase. First time in Greece? First time, Sophia confirmed, getting into the back seat. She immediately sent a discreet photo of the license plate to Anna, along with a message. Driver picked me up. Rashid had family issues, heading to the hotel. Anna's reply came quickly. I don't like this. Keep your GPS on. The road wound through the hills of Santorini, offering breathtaking views of the Aegean Sea. The sunset painted the sky with shades of orange and pink. Under other circumstances, Sophia would have found it magical. But something bothered her. Dimitris, she said, trying to sound casual, how long have you been working for Rashid? Oh, I don't work for him permanently, the driver replied, his eyes meeting hers in the rearview mirror. He hired me just for this weekend, for the family wedding. I see. And do you know his family? Dimitris shrugged. I know many wealthy families who come to Santorini. They all look alike after a while. The answer was too vague. Sophia felt her stomach tighten. She checked her phone again. Still nothing from Rashid. She called once more. Voicemail. They drove for about 20 minutes, and Sophia realized they were moving away from the more touristy areas of Fira and Oya. The roads were getting narrower, less lit. Isn't the Katakis Hotel in that direction? She asked, her voice now tense. Change of plans, Dimitri said casually. Mr. Al-Mansour has reserved a private villa for you. More exclusive, more romantic. The alarm in her brain was now ringing loud and clear. Stop the car, Sophia said firmly. I want to talk to Rashid now. He'll call soon. Stop the car, Sophia shouted, her hand already on the door handle. To her horror, the door wouldn't open. Central locking activated. Dimitri sighed, and when his eyes met hers again in the rearview mirror, all cordiality had disappeared. Don't make things difficult, Fräulein. It will be easier for everyone if you cooperate. Panic exploded in Sophia's chest. She desperately grabbed her phone, but before she could dial, the van made a sharp turn and stopped. The side door opened violently, and two men quickly entered, one on each side of her. Don't scream, one of them said in English with an accent she couldn't identify, or it'll get a lot worse. Sophia tried to scream anyway, but a hand covered her mouth. She struggled, kicked, but it was two strong men against a 5'5" woman. Within seconds, she felt them tying her hands with plastic zip ties. One of them snatched her phone from her hand. No GPS now, he laughed, turning off the device and removing the SIM card. Your little friend in Germany will have to wait to hear from you. Tears streamed down Sophia's face as they blindfolded her. Her last coherent thought before total panic took over was of Anna checking the tracking app and seeing Sophia's location simply disappear. The van started moving again, now at high speed. Sophia could hear the men talking in a language she didn't understand. It wasn't Greek, maybe Arabic. She tried to memorize any detail she could, smells, sounds, directions, but terror clouded her thoughts. How long did they drive? 15 minutes, half an hour, impossible to know. Finally, the van stopped. Sophia was dragged out, her feet barely touching the ground. She felt cool air, smelled sea salt and something else. Flowers, maybe jasmine. She heard the distant sound of waves breaking. "Welcome to your honeymoon," a voice said in English, different from the others, more polite, almost friendly. A voice that made her blood run cold because she recognized the tone, even though she had never heard that specific voice before. They pushed her into a building. Her feet found a cold floor, stone or tile. They descended stairs, many stairs. The air grew colder, damp. A basement, a cellar. Finally, they pushed her into what felt like a chair. They removed the blindfold from her eyes, and Sophia blinked in the dim light of a single lamp hanging from the ceiling. She was in a small room, bare stone walls, no windows. The only furniture was the chair she was sitting in, an old mattress in one corner, and a camera. A camera on a tripod, pointed directly at her, its red light flashing. They were recording. Where is Rashid?" Sophia asked, her voice breaking. The man in front of her, tall, maybe 40, dark beard, smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. "Rashid Al-Mansour doesn't exist, dear," he said simply. "That LinkedIn account? Bought. Those photos? Stolen from various profiles. Those business connections who confirmed they knew him? Ours. Everything was built specifically for you." Sophia felt bile rising in her throat. "But why? What do you want?" The man crouched in front of her, his dark eyes studying her face as if she were an interesting object in a display case. "What do we want?" he repeated thoughtfully. "Well, that depends. It depends on how valuable you prove to be. It depends on how much your family can pay. It depends on how much the right clients are willing to offer." Reality hit Sophia like a bucket of cold water. This wasn't romance. It wasn't even a simple financial scam. It was something much, much worse. "My family doesn't have any money," she whispered. "I don't have any money." "Everyone has something," the man said, standing up. "And you, my dear, have 48 hours to find out exactly how much you're worth. Because after that," he gestured vaguely, "well, other options come into play." He turned to leave, then paused at the door. "Oh, and Sophia, that friend of yours, Anna, she's already started to worry. She posted on Instagram asking if anyone has seen you. Very touching." He smiled. "But it won't do any good. You're in a place where no one will find you, not in time." The metal door closed with a sound that echoed like a tombstone being sealed. Sophia was left alone in the dark, with only the flashing red light of the camera for company, counting every second of the 48 hours that could be all that was left of her life. Sophia had no idea how much time had passed when she finally managed to stop crying. The camera continued to flash its hypnotic red light, a mechanical eye watching every moment of her despair. She had tried everything, screaming until her voice was hoarse, kicking the metal door until her feet hurt, searching for any weakness in the stone walls. Nothing. Her hands were still bound with plastic ties, cutting off her circulation. She had tried to loosen them by rubbing them against the rough edge of the metal chair, but only managed to cut her wrists. Dried blood now stained the cuffs. The cold of the basement penetrated her bones. She was wearing only a light summer dress, planned for a romantic welcome dinner that would never happen. Her teeth chattered uncontrollably. Then the door opened. It wasn't the dark-bearded man this time. It was a woman, perhaps 35 years old, black hair pulled back in a tight ponytail, wearing jeans and a simple blouse. She carried a tray with food and water. "Eat," the woman said in accentless English. "You need to keep your strength up." "Please," Sophia begged, her voice hoarse from screaming. "Please let me go. I won't tell anyone, I swear." "Save your energy," the woman interrupted coldly, setting the tray on the floor. "Begging won't help. Crying won't help. The only thing that will help you is cooperating." "Cooperating with what?" Sophia asked desperately. "What do you want from me?" The woman crouched down, studying Sophia's face with clinical interest. "You have family in Germany, right? Parents, siblings?" "My parents died 5 years ago," Sophia lied instantly. Her parents were very much alive, retired in a small town near Stuttgart, but some survival instinct made her lie. "I'm an only child. I don't have anyone with money." The woman smiled, but there was no humor in it. "Liar. We know everything about you, Sophia Richter. Your father Klaus, 67, former Bosch engineer. Your mother Margaret, 64, former teacher. They have a paid-off house in Esslingen am Neckar, 2 retirement accounts, about 200,000 euros in savings." She tilted her head. "It's not rich, but it's enough for what we need." Sophia's blood ran cold. They really did know everything. How long had they been planning this? How long had they been watching her before making contact? "They'll never pay," Sophia said, trying to keep her voice steady. "They'll go to the police first." "They won't," the woman interrupted her. "Because you're going to convince them not to. Tomorrow morning, you're going to record a video message. You're going to appear calm, you're going to say you're fine, and you're going to explain exactly what they need to do. If they go to the police, you die. If they try to track them down, you die. If they don't pay within 48 hours... She left the sentence unfinished. "And if they pay," Sophia asked quietly, "will you let me go?" The woman stood up, ignoring the question. "Eat. Rest. Tomorrow at 9 a.m. we start recording. And Sophia?" She paused at the door. "Try to look presentable. Your parents need to believe you're okay. Any signs of torture, any visible bruises, and they'll panic. Panic leads to the police. Police leads to..." She made a gesture of cutting her throat. The door closed again. Sophia looked at the tray. Bread, cheese, water. Her stomach churned at the thought of eating. But the woman was right. She needed strength. She needed to think clearly. She ate mechanically, each bite grey and tasteless. As she ate, her mind worked frantically. She thought of Anna, probably going crazy with worry by now. Her last known location would have been near the airport before her phone went dead. Had Anna called the German police yet? But what could they do? Sophia was in another country, kidnapped by people who clearly knew what they were doing. She thought of her parents. Klaus and Margarete had worked their entire lives, saving every penny for a comfortable retirement. And now she was the reason everything would be taken from them. Worse, if they paid, was there any guarantee she would be released? Did people like this let their victims go after receiving the money? Sophia knew the answer. She had watched enough crime documentaries. Kidnapping victims were rarely released unharmed, even when the ransom was paid. She was a witness. She could identify them. She knew too much. She began to look around the room with new eyes, searching for anything she could use. The camera was out of reach, bolted high on the wall. The door was solid, heavy metal with a lock on the outside. The walls were ancient stone, probably part of some historic structure. Santorini had thousands of them, cellars and basements in buildings dating back centuries. Then she noticed it. In the corner, near the mattress, there was a small drainage hole in the floor, and coming from it, the faintest of sounds, running water. Very distant, but definitely water, which meant she was close to the sea or some kind of sewer system. Another thing, the temperature. It was cold down here, but not as cold as it should be so deep underground, which meant there were probably ventilation openings somewhere, even if she couldn't see them. She forced her brain to work logically. They had taken her from the airport, a 20 to 30-minute drive. Santorini isn't a big island. They had gone inland, away from the tourist areas. There had been the smell of jasmine when they had taken her out of the van. Jasmine grows in gardens, not in wild areas, which meant a private property, probably isolated. Suddenly, Sophia remembered something. During their months of online conversations, Rashid had once mentioned properties in Santorini. "My family owns a few villas on the island," he had said casually. "Investments. They sit empty most of the year? Could it be? Would they really be foolish enough to use a property they had mentioned? Or was it yet another layer of lies?" The hours dragged on. Sophia alternated between irrational hope and utter despair. She prayed for the first time since childhood, inarticulate prayers to a God she wasn't sure she believed in. She thought of all the little moments in her life she had taken for granted. Breakfasts with her friends, walks in the Englischer Garten in Munich. The way her mother always ended phone calls with "Ich hab dich lieb, mein Schatz." Would she never hear that again? When the door opened for the third time, dim light streamed in through a small window near the ceiling. It must be morning. The dark, bearded man was back, this time with professional lighting equipment and a smartphone on a tripod. "Showtime," he announced. "I'm going to untie your hands so you look more natural. But keep in mind, there are 3 men right behind that door. You have nowhere to run. Understand?" Sophia nodded. He cut the straps and she groaned as blood rushed back into her numb hands. "I'll give you the script," he said, handing her a piece of paper. "Read it naturally. Try to sound calm but concerned, scared but not panicked. Your parents need to believe that cooperating is the only option." Sophia read the script. It was diabolical in its simplicity. "Mom, Dad, I'm okay, but I'm in trouble. There are people here who want money, 150,000 euros. They'll release me when they get paid. Please don't go to the police. They have contacts, they'll find out, and they'll hurt me. You have 48 hours. I'll send instructions for the transfer. Please do exactly as they say. I love you." "Ready?" the man asked, adjusting the lights. Sophia took a deep breath, and then she did something that surprised even herself. Something that could save her or condemn her. She looked directly at the camera and began to speak. Sophia looked directly at the camera, her trembling hands holding the paper with the script. The dark-bearded man motioned for her to begin. She took a deep breath. "Mom, Dad," she began, her voice only slightly shaky. "I'm okay, but I'm in trouble. There are people here who want money, 150,000 euros. Then she did it. She deviated from the script for just 3 seconds, but they were crucial seconds. "They'll let me go when they get paid. Please don't go to the police." She touched her neck nervously once, twice, 3 times, a gesture her parents knew well. Since she was a child, Sophia had always touched her neck 3 times when she lied to them. It was her unconscious tell, something her mother always noticed. "They have contacts, they'll find out, and they'll hurt me." She continued with the rest of the script perfectly, but she had planted the seed. Her parents would know she was lying about not going to the police. It was a code, a hidden message. "Cut!" the man shouted, satisfied. "Perfect, very convincing. Your parents will love it." He had no idea what she had done. Esslingen am Neckar, Germany, June 16th, 10:30 a.m. Klaus Richter held his phone with trembling hands as he watched the video for the 5th time. Margaret sat next to him on the living room sofa, silent tears streaming down her face. "They want 150,000 euros, Klaus," she whispered. "Practically everything we have." "I know," he replied, his voice hoarse. The video had arrived via WhatsApp from an unknown number 20 minutes ago. Detailed instructions followed shortly after. How to transfer the money to an account in Cyprus, how not to contact the authorities, how to wait for confirmation of her release. But Klaus was focused on something else. "Margaret," he said slowly, "did you see that?" He played the video again and froze it at the exact moment. Sophia touching her neck. Once, twice, 3 times. Margaret gasped. "Good heavens, it's her signal. She wants us to do something different than what she's saying." Klaus was already grabbing his coat. "Let's go to the police. Now." Police station, Esslingen, June 16th, 11:30 a.m. Inspector Thomas Weber listened to the Richter's story with growing concern. International kidnappings were rare, but when they did happen, they were usually part of sophisticated criminal operations. "The fact that your daughter gave a signal is crucial," Weber said, studying the video on his computer. It shows that she is thinking clearly, trying to help the investigation, but it also puts her at greater risk if they notice. "What can we do?" Klaus asked desperately. "First, we'll contact Interpol and the Greek police immediately. Second, we'll track where this video came from." He called his technical team. "How long do you need to analyze the video and trace the WhatsApp number?" "Metadata can give us an approximate location," replied digital crime expert Detective Sarah Hoffman. "But if they're professionals, they'll have used a VPN and removed metadata. Even so, there's always something." While the team worked, Weber studied the patterns. The fake LinkedIn profile, the months of preparation, the detailed knowledge about her family. This isn't an impulsive kidnapping. It's a planned operation. "Do you think there are more victims?" Margaret asked, pale. "Almost certainly," Weber replied grimly. "Operations like this rarely target a single person. I'll check similar cases in Europe in recent years." Basement, Santorini, June 16th, 2:30 p.m. Sophia was alone again when she heard something. Voices on the other side of the wall, muffled but audible if she pressed her ear against the cold stone. "Problem with the transfer," a male voice said in English. "They'll pay," another voice replied, the black-haired woman. "They always pay, especially Germans. Very proper, very scared." "And then?" the first voice asked. Silence. Then, "Same as always. She disappears. We can't risk witnesses." Sophia's blood ran cold. She was right. Even if her parents paid, she was dead. They never intended to free her. She had to find a way out. Now. She scanned the room again with new urgency. The camera was still flashing, but it seemed to be on a recorded loop. No one was monitoring it in real time. The door was impossible. The tiny window near the ceiling was too small, even if she could reach it. But the drain hole. Sophia crawled over to it. It was narrow, maybe a foot in diameter, covered by a rusty metal grate. She pulled on the grate. It was loose, corroded by time and moisture. With effort, she removed it completely. Looking inside, she saw a narrow tunnel sloping down at an angle. Where was the sound of water coming from? She had no idea where it led, but it was her only option. The problem, she was small, but not that small. It would be an impossible squeeze, and if she got stuck halfway, no one would find her. She would die slowly, alone, in the dark. But staying meant certain death. Interpol Office, Lyon, France, June 16th, 3 p.m. Agent Marie Dubois studied the file she had just received from Germany. Another German woman missing in Greece. But this time, there was video, evidence, a pattern. She pulled up old files. In the last 3 years, 6 European women had disappeared under similar circumstances. All contacted online by romantic suitors. All invited to Greece or Turkey. All vanished. 2 were found, dead, their bodies dumped in the sea. 4 were never found. And now Sophia Richter was the 7th. "We have a serial pattern here," Dubois told her supervisor. "This isn't just rescue. It's trafficking, murder, or both. We need the whole team on this, now." Santorini Police Station, June 16th, 4:45 p.m. Detective Nikos Papadopoulos received the alert from Interpol and immediately mobilized his small team. Santorini was a tourist island, not a center of organized crime, but that made it perfect for criminal operations. Thousands of tourists came and went every day. Who would notice one more? "We need to check all isolated properties," he instructed his team. "Empty villas, old cellars, any structure with basements. Focus on areas away from the resorts." But Santorini had hundreds of such properties. Finding a kidnapped woman in 48 hours, now less than 30 hours, would be like finding a needle in a haystack, unless they got lucky, or unless Sophia could help them. Basement, Santorini, June 16th, 5 p.m. Sophia made her decision. She took off her light dress. It would be easier to squeeze through without it. She was left in just her panties and bra. The cold stone made her skin tingle, but it didn't matter. She stuck her head and shoulders into the drain hole first. It was tight, so tight that for a moment she thought she would get stuck immediately. But she pushed, ignoring the pain of the rough stone scraping her skin. Inch by inch, she forced herself into the tunnel. There was no turning back now. Either she went on, or she died trying. The darkness swallowed her completely. The sound of water grew louder, and somewhere above her the basement door opened. "Dinner time, princess," the voice stopped abruptly. "Shit! She escaped! Look for her! Look for her now!" Sophia heard the shouts, but she was too far gone to turn back. She continued crawling through the impossible tunnel, her hands bleeding, her knees scraped raw, moving toward the sound of water and hoping, praying that it would lead to freedom, and not to death. The darkness was absolute. Sophia couldn't see her own hand in front of her face as she crawled through the narrow tunnel. Every inch was agony. The rough stone scraped her skin, her shoulders barely fit in the tight space, and the air was getting thin. Behind her, she heard muffled shouts, heavy footsteps. They were looking for her. "Check the drainage system," a voice yelled. "She can't have gone far." Panic threatened to paralyze her, but Sophia forced herself to continue. The tunnel curved steeply downward. The sound of water was louder now, not just dripping, but a steady flow. Suddenly her hands touched icy water. The tunnel had opened into a larger channel, perhaps part of an old sewer system. Here there was enough room for her to kneel. Cold water lapped at her ankles. But which direction should she go? Left or right? She chose right, toward the louder sound of water, hoping it would lead outside, to the sea, anywhere away from this hell. Isolated villa, Santorini interior, June 16th, 5:30 p.m. "How did she do it?" the dark, bearded man roared, punching the wall. The drain grate lay on the floor, the hole gaping like a mocking mouth. "She's smaller than we thought," the black-haired woman replied coldly, already reaching for her phone. "Nikos, we have a problem. The German woman escaped through the drainage system. We need to find her before she reaches the surface." "How many exit points?" a voice asked over the phone. "3 main ones within a 500-meter radius, all close to the coast. Send teams to each one." The dark-bearded man grabbed a flashlight and a pistol. "If she reaches the surface and is seen by tourists, we're finished. She needs to be silenced, permanently." Drainage system, 5:45 p.m. Sophia had crawled for what seemed like miles. Her hands were numb from the icy water, her body shaking uncontrollably. But then she saw it. Light. Faint, distant, but definitely natural light. An exit. She moved faster, ignoring the pain, focused only on that light. The tunnel opened into a kind of large cistern, an ancient structure, probably Venetian, with an opening in the ceiling. Afternoon sunlight streamed in golden beams. There was a rusty metal ladder climbing up the wall. Sophia grabbed the first rung, tested its weight. It held. She began to climb, each step a small victory. 5 meters, 10 meters. The opening was so close, a metallic sound echoed behind her. Voices, flashlights sweeping the cistern. There, on the ladder. A shot reverberated in the enclosed space. The bullet hit the stone near Sophia's head, fragments cutting her face. She screamed but kept climbing, pure survival instinct taking over. Another shot. This one passed so close that she felt the air shift. Then her hands touched open air. She pulled herself out of the opening and fell onto hard ground. She was in some kind of abandoned field, low vegetation, a view of the sea in the distance. Sophia ran. Half-naked, bleeding, practically feral, she ran like she had never run in her life. Behind her she heard shouting. They were coming out of the tunnel too. She saw a road and a car. A taxi. Coastal Road, Santorini, 6 p.m. Giannis Kostas, A taxi driver in Santorini for 30 years had seen many strange things. Drunk tourists, couples fighting, crazy marriage proposals. But he had never seen anything like this. A woman, German, judging by her accent, practically naked, covered in blood and dirt, came running out of nowhere and threw herself in front of his taxi. He slammed on the brakes. "Please!" she screamed in English. "Please help me! They're going to kill me!" Yanis saw 3 men coming out of the field behind her. He saw the gun in one of their hands. He didn't think twice. He opened the back door. "Get in! Quick!" Sophia dove inside. Yanis stepped on the gas. The taxi took off, tires screeching. In the rearview mirror, he saw the men running, one of them raising his gun. But there were other cars on the road now. Witnesses, tourists taking pictures of the sunset. Shooting would be operational suicide. The men stopped, watching the taxi disappear. "Police!" Sophia gasped from the back seat. "Please take me to the police." Fira Police Station, Santorini, 6:30 p.m. Detective Nikos Papadopoulos was coordinating search teams when his door blew open. A taxi driver pushed a woman inside, semi-conscious, hypothermic, in shock. "She said someone tried to kill her," Yanis said quickly. "Men with guns chasing her." "Sophia Richter?" Papadopoulos asked, already grabbing his phone. The woman nodded weakly before passing out. Within minutes, the station was controlled chaos. Ambulance called, Interpol notified. Tactical teams were mobilized to the location Sophia had described before losing consciousness. Papadopoulos personally called Klaus and Margareta Richter. "Your daughter is alive. She escaped. She's in the hospital now, but she'll survive." On the other end of the line, Margaret collapsed into sobs of relief. Santorini Hospital, 11:00 p.m. Sophia woke up in clean white sheets, hooked up to an IV, her body bandaged. Interpol agent Marie Dubois was sitting at her bedside. "You were very brave," Dubois said gently, "and very smart. The information you gave us led to a raid. We arrested 5 people. We found evidence of at least 8 previous victims." Are they alive?" Sophia asked, her voice hoarse. Dubois' silence was answer enough. Sophia closed her eyes. She had survived, but so many others had not. And the next 48 hours would be devoted to ensuring that those monsters could never do this to anyone else. Klaus and Margareta Richter rushed into the hospital room. Sophia was sitting up in bed, still pale and bandaged, but alive. Margaret collapsed in tears as she hugged her daughter. My God," she repeated. "We thought we had lost you." "The sign," Klaus said, his voice breaking. "You touched your neck 3 times. We understood." Sophia smiled weakly. "I knew you would understand." Fira Police Station. June 18th, Agent Marie Dubois presented the results of the investigation. The operation was larger than anyone had imagined. "The villa where you were held belonged to an international human trafficking ring," she explained. "They used fake profiles on social media to lure European women. Some were held for ransom. Others," she paused, "were sold. Of the 5 people arrested, 3 confessed in exchange for plea bargains. The black-haired woman, whose real name was Elena Kovac, 36, Croatian, revealed the details of the operation. "We worked in cells," Elena said during questioning, her voice monotone. "LinkedIn, Instagram, dating sites, we created perfect profiles. We studied the victims for months. We knew exactly what they wanted to hear." "How many victims?" Papadopoulos asked. Elena looked down. "In 3 years? Maybe 15, maybe 20. I lost count." Athens Court. 6 months later. The trial was quick by Greek standards. The evidence was overwhelming. Videos, testimonies, bank records, recovered bodies. Sophia testified for 3 hours, recounting every detail. She looked directly at her captors as she spoke, refusing to show fear. The man with the dark beard, identified as Amir Hassan, a Syrian citizen with a fake Turkish passport, received life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Elena Kovac received 25 years. The others received sentences ranging from 15 to 30 years. "Let this be a warning," the judge declared. "Greece will not tolerate this type of crime. These people turned dreams into nightmares. Justice has been served." Munich, Germany. 1 year later, Sophia Richter was sitting in a cafe in Schwabing, the same neighborhood where it had all begun. But she was no longer the same person. She had left her job in logistics. Now she worked for an NGO that helped victims of human trafficking and romance scams. She gave lectures, trained people on warning signs, and shared her story. "How did you get through it?" a young woman asked after one of her lectures. "I haven't completely gotten over it," Sophia replied honestly. "I still have nightmares. I still panic when I see men's profiles on social media, but I've turned my trauma into purpose. If my story saves one life, it was worth it." Anna was with her as always. "You're the strongest person I know," her friend said. Sophia shook her head. "I'm not strong. I was just lucky and stubborn enough not to give up in that tunnel." Her phone rang. It was a message from Marie Dubois. "Another victim rescued today in Cyprus. Same operation. Your information helped. You saved another life." Sophia smiled for the first time in a long time. A genuine smile. Epilogue. The trafficking network was dismantled, but never completely. New cells constantly emerge, always adapting their tactics. But now there is more awareness, more victims speaking out, more people like Sophia turning survival into activism. The tunnel that almost became her grave became a symbol of her resilience. She had entered it as a victim. She had left it as a survivor. And when she shared her story, she always ended with the same warning. The romance that seems too good to be true usually is. People who know exactly what you want to hear usually have ulterior motives. There's no shame in being cautious. There's no shame in checking. And there's no shame in saying no. Because in the end, your safety is worth more than any romantic adventure. It's worth more than any promise of a fairy tale wedding. It's worth more than any invitation to Greece. Sophia Richter survived her 48 hours in hell, and she dedicated the rest of her life to ensuring that other women would not have to pee